Hello and welcome to the Otakus After Dark, the podcast by adult weebs for adult weebs. Grab your drink of choice and sit back and relax as we talk about our romance recommendations on today's podcast. I'm Don Hoozle, and I'm joined here with Exiled Sentinel, aka Danielle,
Hello.
and the ever wonderful Emily.
Hi.
So, Emily, why don't you start us off with your recommendation today?
Alrighty. So my romance recommendation is My Hero Academia. Anyone that knows me right now knows that I'm like obsessed with the show. So the story of My Hero Academia is set in a world where the majority of people have superhero powers called quirks, that develop at like a very young age. So these quirks cover literally any ability, and they are unique to like each individual person. So like nobody has the same quirk. And in this universe, there are basically four types of people: normal citizens that can just use their quirks casually, heroes, villains, and then those that are born without quirks, like at all, which is extremely rare. So the story revolves around a young guy named Izuku Midoriya, who is one of those quirkless individuals, but his dream, like more than anything else in the world, is to become a pro hero. So unfortunately for him, like this isn't really a possibility because he has no superhero powers. Um, but he ends up encountering like the best hero of all time, and he's given superhero powers, and eventually he's hoping to become like the next best pro hero. So that's kind of the synopsis. Um, and there are like a lot of great things about this series that I'm a big fan of. The story, the fights, just the entire universe structure. But probably one of my favorite elements is the really unique romance that takes place between Midoriya and his rival, Bakugo. Um, they start the story as like complete enemies. But as time goes on, like this really beautiful and heartwarming romance starts to develop between the two of them. And what I love about this is that it's so diverse for a shonen series to have a gay protagonist, which I know we've talked about in the past. But not only that, like to have his romantic interest be his sort of rival and enemy is really unique and captivating to me. Um, I definitely think for the creator, this was like a bold move to do that, but it definitely paid off, I think. Um, so if I were to recommend this series to anybody, it would be people that obviously like stories involving superheroes. But then also those who are fans of like the enemies to lovers trope, which I'm a big fan of myself. So My Hero Academia, amazing romance.
That's really cool. I was
Yeah.
surprised you recommended a more shonen type series. I picked a more spicier series. My series is more of a josei title. But my favorite like romance type series right now is Berserk, and it's about a girl named Guts who's in her mid 30s and is a really nerdy girl that doesn't wear makeup or take care of her hygiene much because she's always in the office building doing tons of overtime. And then she meets this handsome newcomer to the office called Griffith, and he is the office's new ace, which really upsets Guts because of all the work she does around the office. Um, However, the one person she didn't want to see her doing all of that overtime is this cocky new ace, Griffith. After getting talking to Guts, Griffith is seeing like this diamond underneath all this dirt. Um, and but you're thinking the whole time, will Guts be able to handle Griffith's advances? Um, and I really like the fact that the heroine Guts is trying so hard to get away from Griffith's advances, which really shows that she's a very vulnerable person to very pushy guys. And my favorite scene so far in Volume 1 is that so she's been in the office when none of the other people are around, and she was looking for Griffith to kind of give him some papers, and Griffith ends up pulling Guts inside a utility closet, and starts like getting a little bit frisky with Guts. And Guts isn't trying to like make any like audible moans while she's like kind of being frisked by Griffith. And one of her coworkers, Casca, hears something and starts knocking on the door, asking if everything's all right. And I don't know about you, but that is the perfect amount of like spice to end the volume one on, to where like you don't know if what's gonna happen with Guts, and Guts isn't sure how to like respond. So I think it's the perfect cliffhanger. But that's my recommendation.
Wow, that's pretty hot.
That sounds spicy, and I've been looking for like more like sexy romances, so I appreciate that recommendation.
hmm
Danielle, what's your recommendation for today?
I mean, I'm gonna have to hit us with a classic, y'all. And obviously, I'm gonna go with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you don't know, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure tells a story of the Joestar family, a family whose various members discover they are destined to take down supernatural foes using the powers they possess. The story split up into unique parts, with each following a member of the Joestar family, who typically have the names that can be abbreviated to the titular JoJo. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is well known for its iconic art style, poses, frequent references to Western music and fashion, and creative battles centered around stands, psycho-spiritual manifestations with unique supernatural abilities. But we all love it for the shoujo masterpiece that it is. You know, who could pass up iconic ships like Dio x Jonathan, the first Pretty Boys, Joseph x Caesar, Dio again with the ever hunky Jotaro? Or who could also forget the sexy tongue action of Kakyoin and Cherry? We also have Josuke x Okiyasu, and you can't forget the rivals to lovers Josuke x Rohan. But if you're into more polyamorous relationships, who could forget the gang of Mamabuchi and Sons? Listen, I know what you're thinking, but what about the ladies? We could never forget the badass couple of Jolene x Hermes. And I know some of y'all are going to be like, come on, Danielle, you're forgetting one of the best couples ever. And you're wrong. I could never forget about Johnny x Gyro. But finally, you're going to say, how can you forget part 8? It's the romantic part. And all I can say is, I haven't read part 8, so we're just going to have to talk about that at a future time.
I love that. I was not interested in reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because the art style was like just not my thing. But I think I've changed my mind.
There's a little of everything in there. I think you'll find the perfect couple, Emily.
I love that. What are you still doing here?
Podcast is over.
Go read some manga or something.
What? Did you want more?
y'all know it's April Fool's, right?